Hey everyone, let me give you a 10-second abbreviated version of what this form is and how to use it. You take a verb stem, so 하다 would just be 하, and you attach 고 말고, just like this, no spaces, 요 if you're being polite, and it means of course. Now, let's do the full version of this lesson. You take a verb stem, so let's take the verb stem 좋아하다, to like. 좋아하다's verb stem is just 좋아하, and we attach no spaces here. 고, 말, 고. And if we're being a little more polite, 요. And this means, of course, 좋아하다, to like. 좋아하고 말고요. Of course, I like it, or they like it, or someone likes it. This form is a verb ending, so it ends the sentence. And because it ends with either just 고 or 고요, it's only going to be used in informal conversation, such as just with your friends or regular acquaintances. It's more of a spoken form. This form is not used to say, of course, when you are just saying something on your own. For example, if I was going to say, I'm a Korean teacher, and of course, I know how to speak Korean, you would never use this form to say that. Why? Because this form is only used when you are replying to someone else. Meaning, it doesn't just mean of course, it means of course. That's the kind of nuance that this form has. I think for sure is another way you can think of it. For sure also means of course, but it's of course like I agree with you. It's only used when you're replying to someone else. Basically to say, yeah, I agree, of course, for sure. Again, this form is only used when you are replying to someone. You get it? You know what I'm saying? For sure. Of course. So you still will use the other words that mean of course. 물론, 당연하지. Of course. An easy way to think about when you would use this form is if you add this expression to the beginning of a sentence, then if you want to say of course, it's probably going to be okay. 그럼 and 그럼요 are an expression that means of course, like I agree. Yeah, you're right. So you might use this actually in sentences that have 고 말고요 because it kind of serves the same purpose. There's one more thing you need to know. This form is not typically used with negative sentences. Sentences that have an before the verb typically will not use this form because it sounds kind of awkward. However, it's okay to use it with the verb 없다. I think the reason is because 없다 just doesn't feel like a negative, like it's not doing something. It feels like just a unique verb. But it's not going to be used with like 안 하고 말고요. You're not really going to hear that. So let's do some example sentences. 숙제 다 했지? 숙제 homework, 다, all of it, completely. You did all the homework, right? So if you're replying to this, like, for sure, of course, then you could use this form, in which case you could say, 다 했고 말고. Of course, yeah, I did it. 다 했고 말고. Yeah, of course I did it all. 파김치. 파 is green onions. 파김치 도. So also green onion kimchi. So kimchi made using green onions. 먹어봤어요? Have you tried eating green onion kimchi before? And you want to reply, for sure, of course. I've tried eating green onion kimchi before. For sure, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. So how do you say it? Normally you'd say 먹어봤어요. 네, 먹어봤어요. Yes, I've eaten it. I've tried it before. But in this case, you want to say, yeah, for sure, I've tried that. Of course, I've tried that. 네, 먹어봤고 말고요. Don't say it like that. 네, 먹어봤고 말고요. Yes, of course, I've tried that. I don't know if this is like 18th century England or Seinfeld. 주소 is an address. 제대로 means correctly, accurately, legitimately. It's an adverb. 쓰다 is to write. So 썼어, past tense, wrote. Did you write down the address correctly? 주소 제대로 썼어? And you want to say, yeah, of course I wrote it down correctly. 그럼, of course. Yeah, I'm agreeing. 제대로 썼고 말고. Of course I wrote it down correctly. 그럼 제대로 썼고 말고. Of course I wrote it down correctly. 조금 무거운데. So it's a little bit heavy, but 괜찮아요? Are you okay? It's a little bit heavy. Are you okay? So we can reply like this. 네, yes. 괜찮다, to be okay. 괜찮고 말고요. Yeah, of course I'm okay. For sure, I'm okay. 저 힘세요. I'm strong. Yeah, of course I'm okay. I'm strong. 네, 괜찮고 말고요. 저 힘세요. 제 시간에, so on time, 끝내다, to finish. 끝낼 수 있는, to be able to finish. 사람, so a person who can finish on time. 없겠죠? There won't be anyone who can finish it in time. Is there? And the person who replies to this is going to be saying, 그럼요. Of course. 없고 말고요. There isn't. 없고 말고요. Of course there's not. Now, 그럼요 already means of course, but it's like, yeah, you're right. Of course there's not. So it's commonly used with other expressions that also mean, yes, of course. 혼자 갈 수 있어요? 혼자 is by yourself. 가다, to go. So can you go by yourself? Can you go alone? To which you're going to reply, 그럼요, of course. 혼자 갈 수 있고 말고요. 있고 말고요. So of course I can. 혼자 가다, go alone. 그럼요, 혼자 갈 수 있고 말고요. Of course. Yeah, for sure I can go alone. There's one more form that also has the same meaning as 고 말고. Here's how you make it. You take a verb stem, so 하다, you just get 하, and then you attach 다 마다. You might be thinking, well then Billy, why don't you just say take the verb and attach 마다? Because just like with 고 말고, you might also want a past tense verb stem, in which case you can get 했, oh, I wrote that really weird, 했다 마다. Then, if you want to be polite, just like before, you can attach 요 to the end. It also means, of course, for sure. If there's any difference at all that I can think of, it's that this one is a little bit less common than 고 말고. Besides that, it's the same thing. 철수도 알아요? Do you know 철수 too? 철수도 알아요? How would you reply? Of course I know him. Yes, of course. I know him. But this time we're going to use 밤하다. 물론이지. Of course. 알다 마다. Of course I know him. Yes, of course I know him. 물론이지. 알다 마다. Of course I know him. 파리도 가봤어? 파리도 가봤어? Have you also been to Paris? And you want to reply, of course I've been to Paris. 가봤다 마다요. So 가봤어요. Yes, I've been there. 가봤다 마다요. Yes, of course I've been there. 에펠탑. Top means tower. 에펠 is Eiffel. So the Eiffel Tower. 도, also the Eiffel Tower. 받는 걸요. I also saw, actually, 직접 is directly. In this case, you can translate 직접 as in person. Like I was actually there. 가봤다 마다요. 에펠탑도 직접 받는 걸요. Yeah, of course I've been there. I've even seen the Eiffel Tower in person, actually. And that is our lesson. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.